My name is Maud. I'm 35 years old and 9 months pregnant. My husband and I were on our way to visit his family, who live just 45 minutes away from us. We visit them a couple of times each month, but today was special. My sweet mother-in-law was making her famous peach cobbler, a dessert I'd been craving for weeks. She's been through a lot since losing her husband last year, but the thought of becoming a grandmother for the first time has brought her so much joy. She's a kind woman who always goes out of her way to make others feel comfortable. However, not everyone in the family is as happy. My sister-in-law, Sabrina, has been struggling with infertility for years. She's been married for 7 years and started fertility treatments 3 years ago, but sadly, nothing has worked so far. This has left her frustrated, upset, and distant. Normally, my mother-in-law tries to plan visits so that we don't overlap with Sabrina, just to avoid any drama. But today, Sabrina unexpectedly showed up while we were there. When we arrived, Sabrina greeted me with a cold smirk. "Long time no see, Maud," she said, looking me up and down. "Looks like you've gained a lot of weight. Are you sure you're not just being lazy because you're pregnant?" Her words stung, and I felt my face get hot. Before I could say anything, my husband stepped in. "Sabrina, that's enough. Maud is 9 months pregnant. Of course, her belly is big. You can't talk to her like that." Sabrina rolled her eyes and scoffed. "I'm just saying, it's not good for the baby if the mother gains too much weight. I'm thinking about her health, that's all." I could tell her words weren't out of concern. They were meant to hurt. But I took a deep breath and tried to ignore her. I didn't want to cause any more tension. The day went on, and I did my best to avoid Sabrina. But later, when I walked into the kitchen to get a glass of water, she was there. Before I knew it, Sabrina stepped closer, her face full of anger. "You don't deserve this baby," she spat. Then, without warning, she clenched her fist and punched me hard in the stomach. The pain hit me like a lightning bolt, and I let out a loud cry as I collapsed to the ground. My body felt heavy, and I noticed a rush of liquid. My water had broken. Panic filled me as I screamed, "Somebody, please help." Through the pain, I managed to grab my phone and dial my mother-in-law. The world around me started spinning, and everything went black. This was supposed to be a happy day, a day filled with love and family. Instead, it turned into a nightmare that I'll never forget. "I'll try to be more careful," I said softly, trying to keep the peace. I didn't want to make things worse, but Sabrina wasn't ready to let it go. "Don't just stand there," she snapped. "If you have so much energy to talk back, why don't you clean the house? A little exercise wouldn't hurt." Before I could respond, she thrust a broom and dustpan at me, her eyes full of anger. Before I could react, my mother-in-law stepped into the room. "Sabrina, that's enough," she said firmly. "Maud is our guest, and she's here to relax." Sabrina huffed, rolled her eyes, and stomped upstairs, leaving an awkward silence behind her. I felt a mix of relief and discomfort. Even though the day had started poorly, things got better after Sabrina left the room. The rest of the afternoon went smoothly. My husband, my mother-in-law, and I enjoyed the delicious peach cobbler she had made. We sat together, sipped tea, and talked about the baby and other cheerful things. Sabrina stayed hidden in her room, and I tried not to let her bad mood ruin the day. But everything changed a few days later. I went to my in-laws' house alone to discuss some plans with my mother-in-law. When I arrived, I was surprised to find the front door unlocked. I stepped inside and found Sabrina sitting in the living room. "Sabrina? I thought you were working today," I said, trying to sound friendly. She smirked. "I took the day off." "I see you're back. Why don't you make yourself useful and clean up the mess you left last time?" I felt my stomach tighten. "I really don't feel well today," I replied, placing a hand on my belly. "I just came to talk to Mom." "Stop making excuses." Sabrina snapped. "You think being pregnant means you can just lie around all day?" I didn't want to argue, so I picked up the broom. But as I bent down to sweep, a sharp pain shot through my stomach. I froze, holding my belly, trying to understand what was happening. Before I could say anything, Sabrina's fist slammed into my stomach. The pain was unbearable. I gasped and doubled over, clutching my belly as tears filled my eyes. My vision blurred, and I felt a sudden rush of warm liquid. My water had broken. Panic hit me like a wave.
Ah!
Somebody, please help! I screamed, desperate for anyone to come. But Sabrina just stood there, watching me. Her face was twisted with anger, but there was something else, a look of satisfaction that sent chills down my spine. I fumbled for my phone, my hands trembling. I managed to dial my mother-in-law before everything went black. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. My body ached, and there was an $4 in my arm. Fear gripped me as I looked down at my now flat belly. What about my baby? I whispered, tears streaming down my face. I whispered weakly as I pressed the call button beside my hospital bed. Jenna came in and smiled softly at me. You went into labor early, she said gently. But your baby girl is safe. She's in the NICU, but she's stable. Relief washed over me like a wave, but it was quickly followed by anger. Sabrina had hurt me. Worse, she had hurt my baby. I clenched my fists, the memory of her actions replaying in my mind. Just then, the door opened and my husband and mother-in-law rushed in. Their faces were full of worry and fear. Are you okay? We came as fast as we could, my husband asked, his voice shaking. Tears streamed down my face as I looked at them. Sabrina did this, I managed to say. She punched me. My water broke, and I... Calm down, my mother-in-law said gently, her voice trembling. Her eyes were wet with tears. She won't get away with this. I promise. The next day, as if testing how far she could push us, Sabrina showed up at the hospital with her husband. She walked into my room, her face cold and emotionless. Let's settle this, she said flatly. We'll pay you to drop any charges. Her words made my blood boil. Are you out of your mind? I shouted, sitting up in bed despite the pain. You put my baby's life at risk. Sabrina's husband stepped forward, his face calm but full of arrogance.
Just take the money, Maud, he said.
It'll save us all a lot of trouble. No. I snapped, my voice firm. I'll see you in court. Get out of here. Before they could say anything else, my husband stepped in. His face was red with anger as he pointed at Sabrina and her husband. You think you can buy your way out of this? You're lucky I'm not suing for attempted murder. Sabrina's smug expression disappeared. She stammered something about it being an accident, but none of us believed her. My husband and I were done listening. That very day, we filed a police report. The legal process was long and exhausting, but we didn't back down. Sabrina tried to play the victim, claiming she didn't mean to hurt me and was just frustrated. But the evidence was clear. My testimony, medical records, and witness statements spoke louder than her excuses. In the end, Sabrina was found guilty of assault. The court ordered her to pay a fine and attend mandatory counseling. After that, my husband and I decided to move far away. We changed our phone numbers and cut all ties with Sabrina and her husband. It was a hard decision for my mother-in-law, but she understood. We had to protect our family. A few months later, our baby girl was strong enough to come home. Looking at her tiny, smiling face, I felt a deep sense of peace. We had been through so much, but now we had a fresh start. I felt a deep sense of peace. The nightmare was finally over. We were free from Sabrina's toxic behavior, and life felt brighter. Sabrina's life, however, took a turn for the worse. Her husband left her, and she struggled to make ends meet. Despite everything she had done, I didn't feel any joy in her struggles. I was too focused on my own family, healing, rebuilding, and finding happiness again. In the end, justice had been served, and we were ready to move forward. Our little family was safe, happy, and stronger than ever. Sabrina's reckless actions that day showed how unstable she had become. Even after the assault, she didn't seem sorry for what she had done. With the support of my husband and mother-in-law, we pressed charges against her. It was a difficult decision, but we knew it was the right thing to do. After the court process ended, we moved to a new apartment in a different city. We wanted a fresh start, far away from the pain of the past. My baby girl was slowly recovering, and we were settling into a new routine. Life was starting to feel normal again. For the first time in a long time, I felt like we could breathe. One evening, I was resting on the sofa. I still felt some pain from the surgery, but I was grateful for how far we had come. Suddenly, I heard a loud banging on the front door. "Hey, I know you're in there, Maud. Get out here now, you coward." Sabrina's voice echoed through the hallway. I froze in disbelief. How had she found us? My husband was still at work, and fear swept over me. Taking a deep breath, I tried to stay calm. "Sabrina, what on earth are you doing here?" I shouted through the door, my voice shaking. "You're disturbing everyone. Please leave. No matter how many times you hide, I'll find you," she screamed. Her voice cracked, full of desperation. "You have to listen to me. It's your fault my life has fallen apart." Her words didn't make sense, but the anger in her voice was terrifying. I knew I couldn't open the door. Our building was home to families and elderly people. Despite it being late at night, Sabrina didn't seem to care that her shouting was echoing through the quiet hallways. "Sabrina, I'm sorry you're upset," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But you need to leave now. I'm calling the police." Her shouting grew louder, but I didn't wait any longer. I dialed 112 and explained the situation. 30 minutes later, I heard sirens in the distance. Sabrina's voice faded as the police arrived. That night, I realized how important it was to protect my family no matter what. Sabrina's actions were a reminder of how much we had overcome and how much we had to protect. Together, we would continue to heal and move forward, leaving the past behind. "I'm not opening the door, Sabrina," I said firmly, trying to sound stronger than I felt. My voice was steady, but inside, I was trembling with fear. "Please, Maud, just listen to me," Sabrina cried, banging harder on the door. "You've ruined everything. It's because of you I lost my husband and my life. It's not fair that you get to be happy while I'm miserable." Tears filled my eyes as I leaned my back against the door for support. Her words didn't make any sense. It felt like she saw my pregnancy as some kind of competition she thought she had lost. But there was no competition. I never wanted to hurt her, and I couldn't understand why she was blaming me for her problems. "Sabrina, you need help," I called out softly, trying to stay calm. "Hurting me won't fix anything. This isn't the way." Her tone changed in an instant, becoming sharp and bitter. "You should have waited until I got pregnant first. You should have thought about my feelings. You should have." Her rant was cut short by the sound of sirens blaring outside. Someone in the building must have called the police. Sabrina must have heard them too because her voice suddenly turned panicked.
"No."
"What do you mean the police are here?" she whimpered, her tone shaky. "Maud, please. Don't let them take me. You have to hide me." I stayed silent. I wasn't going to protect her this time. She needed professional help, and maybe this was the first step toward her getting it. 30 minutes later, the police arrived and began speaking to Sabrina right outside my door. I opened the door just a crack and explained the situation as calmly as I could. Just then, my husband came home. The moment I saw him, I broke down. I couldn't hold it in any longer. I cried as I told him everything that had happened. His face was tense, his jaw tight with anger. "She's dangerous," he said to the officers, his voice firm. "You need to take her away." Sabrina was placed in handcuffs and led away, screaming for me to help her. But I didn't. This had gone too far, and I couldn't protect her anymore. Later that night, I got a call from Sabrina's husband. His voice was shaky and filled with desperation. "Maud, I'm divorcing Sabrina," he said suddenly. "I can't do this anymore.
"Please don't involve me in this mess."
I was shocked by his words.
"What?"
"You're just going to leave her?" I asked, stunned. "Yes," he said flatly. "I have to. If I stay, I'll lose my job. The scandal is already too much. My boss found out what happened at the hospital, and I'm being transferred to a regional office." I hung up the phone, feeling a mix of anger, sadness, and relief. Sabrina's life was unraveling, but my priority now was to keep my family safe. I can't keep covering for her. "Just leave me out of it," Sabrina's husband had said over the phone. As I hung up, my emotions were all over the place. Part of me felt sorry for him, but another part couldn't forgive the fact that he stood by Sabrina's side when she tried to bribe us. He had been just as guilty as she was at that time. Over the next few weeks, Sabrina's life continued to fall apart. The legal battle drained the little savings she had left, and her reputation was completely destroyed. She moved from one friend's house to another, trying to find a place to stay, but her behavior pushed everyone away. Eventually, she had no choice but to take part-time jobs just to survive. Meanwhile, my husband and I focused on rebuilding our lives. We changed our phone numbers again to ensure Sabrina couldn't contact us. We cut all ties with her and anyone connected to her. Most importantly, we poured all our energy into caring for our daughter, who is still recovering. A few months later, our little girl was finally strong enough to come home from the hospital. Seeing her grow healthier and stronger each day made every struggle worth it. Her tiny giggles filled our home with joy, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like we could breathe again. One afternoon, as I sat by her crib watching her sleep peacefully, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. We had been through so much pain and fear, but we were finally free from Sabrina's toxic presence. My mother-in-law stayed in touch with us and apologized every chance she got. Though it hurt her to see the family so broken, she understood why we needed to keep our distance. We had to protect ourselves and our daughter. I had heard rumors about Sabrina. People said she had fallen deep into debt. With no friends, no family, and nowhere to go, she was barely surviving. Part of me felt a small flicker of pity for her. But then, I remembered the fear I felt when she banged on my door, screaming. I remembered the pain and the risk she had put my daughter through. That flicker of pity disappeared just as quickly as it came. Sabrina had made her choices, and now she was facing the consequences. After all the chaos, my husband and I decided it was time for a fresh start. We moved to a new city, far away from any reminders of the trauma we had endured. We made new friends, found a supportive community, and began focusing on our future as a family. Slowly, the scars Sabrina had left began to fade. Our daughter grew stronger every day, her laughter filling our home with warmth and happiness. Watching her smile, I knew we had made the right decision to fight for our peace. Sabrina's story ended on a sad note. With her reputation ruined and no one left to support her, she became a shadow of the person she used to be. She had lost everything, her family, her friends, and even her sense of stability. But by the time it all fell apart for her, I no longer feared her. At one point, Sabrina had been a constant source of pain and stress in my life. Her actions had put my daughter and me at risk, and for a long time, I lived in fear of what she might do next. But now, that fear was gone. What replaced it wasn't anger or pity. It was indifference. I didn't care about Sabrina's fate anymore. My focus had shifted completely to my family. After everything we had been through, my only priority was our happiness and safety. That was all that mattered to me now. It took time to reach this point. The struggles my husband and I faced were heavy, but they were worth it because we won our freedom. Justice had been served, and we had worked hard to rebuild our lives. Moving to a new city helped us heal. We found a fresh start in a place where Sabrina's shadow couldn't reach us. We made new friends, found a community that supported us, and began focusing on the future. Our daughter was a constant reminder of how far we had come. Watching her grow stronger each day filled our hearts with joy. Her laughter brightened our home and gave us hope. She was proof that no matter how hard things got, we could overcome anything as a family. My mother-in-law stayed in touch with us and was supportive throughout everything. Though she felt heartbroken by the fallout with Sabrina, she understood our need to distance ourselves from the pain. She wanted us to live in peace, even if it meant keeping her relationship with Sabrina at arm's length. Every now and then, I would hear rumors about Sabrina. People said she was working part-time jobs just to survive and was deeply in debt. She had no real support system left and seemed to be barely making it. There were moments when I thought about feeling sorry for her, but those feelings didn't last long. When I remembered the fear she caused, the risks she took with my child's life, and the way she treated me, any pity I felt disappeared. Sabrina had made her choices, and now she was living with the consequences. As for me and my family, we were finally free. Free from Sabrina's toxicity, free from her anger, and free from her shadow. Our life was filled with love, peace, and joy again. In the end, that's what mattered most. Sabrina's story had ended, but ours was just beginning. Together, we had found happiness, and nothing was more important than that.